here. You're listening to a proper podcast. It's the Alan Hudson podcast. It's proper football, proper talk.
Well, hello. Welcome again to the Alan Hudson podcast. Thanks very much for joining us. We've got a very special edition today, following the sad loss of Joey Jones earlier in the week. We've got a couple of his old teammates joining Alan and I to talk about Joey's career at Stamford Bridge. It will be Colin Lee and David Speedie joining us. So hopefully we get plenty of anecdotes about the early 80s at the Bridge with Joey and the guys. But before that, Alan's got a few words to say about subscriptions. So over to you, Alan.
Yeah, the usual jargon. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Go onto YouTube and just subscribe into our podcast, and hopefully, we can have more shows, really. But today's going to be a great show anyway. It's very emotional, probably, but we'll see. But we'll have a few laughs along the way because Joey was like that. He likes to laugh. So
yeah,
there you go.
Welcome again, Dave. Welcome, Colin. It's great for you to join us today.
Pleasure.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. No problem.
You both played with Joey for quite a time at the Bridge in the early 80s. I mean, what do you think of Joey when you think about him? I mean, what immediately comes to mind? Dave?
Mad. Lovely. He was a bit off the wall. He was very enthusiastic in everything he did, whether it be in training or playing a game. He was brilliant at getting the crowd going with his fist pumps and all sorts. He was a funny guy, a lovely guy, a gentleman, and sadly missed.
Colin, what immediately comes to mind when you think of Joey?
I just think he was such a good friend. I kept in contact with him after he left Chelsea. Not regularly, but we always sort of spoke every so often, and he was such a likable person. I think, apart from being a good footballer, he gave, and everyone knows he gave 110% in every single game he played, regardless of whether it was for Chelsea, for Liverpool, for Huddersfield, and certainly for Wrexham. But what comes to mind with Joey was he was a true friend, and I did a charity event down here a few years ago, and him and Mickey Thomas, who, I mean, they were inseparable, really. They were like brothers, to be quite honest. But the two of them jumped in a car, came down and did the show for me, and we raised some good funds for the charity. And that sort of gives you an insight into the type of person Joey was. No, he was just a great guy, and I think he will be sadly missed by everyone.
What you two lads said is, but when the great old story about crossing that white line, isn't it? Once you cross that white line, you become a different animal, and that was Joey,
Yeah.
True are the stories about the pair of them sleeping in the referee's room at Stamford?
100%.
Yeah.
They did it loads of times.
Well, they used to travel from Wrexham. They had this agreement with John Neal, I think, when they signed that, they could more or less go home, was their words, to Wrexham as often as they could. And even on away games, and certainly home games, they travel back to Wrexham at some stage and then make their way across country to visit us, or to meet up with us, I should say. To play the game the following day, so on a Friday evening, we say Tomo and Joey would turn up, sleep overnight, play the game, and then go back to Wrexham again. They were like, it was incredible. I mean, how they did it, I don't know, but and on the occasion, like Dave's saying, on the odd occasion, but quite often they just dossed down in the change room area and play the game as normal the next day. So it was just it was hard to understand to start with, but we learned to get used to it. And obviously their performances, it wasn't affecting them, So yeah, I don't think many of us could have done that. I certainly couldn't have done that.
Not in a million years could I have done that.
No.
Well, they were probably so used to it and on their travels. It was, but they had so much that once they crossed that line again, they had so much energy. Mickey was a ball of fire, and Joey never stopped, did he? Joey was, you'd never believe. You think he was.
Joey was. Joey was like I don't know. They had this. You know, you're saying when you cross the line, you do turn into something else, but they became focused. Really focused, and it was all about winning. There was nothing else in their minds. And I remember I was playing right back many times playing right back, and then Joey is playing left back, and as you know, during our period, you could get stuck in a little bit, to say the least.
Understatement.
But they'd have a flying right winger, and Joey would sort him out on the left-hand side, and then all of a sudden this right winger would start trotting over to the left-hand side, and Joey would shout to me, "He's coming over, Quincy," because my name was, "He's coming over, mate, he's be over." And I used to shout back, "Don't worry, Joey, we'll be back over to see you in a minute." And we had all this, and it was you had to be brave to step into that back four as an opponent in those days, because we were there to win, and I think all that back four were winners. Well, all the team were winners at that time, and it's hard to describe to people what a winner is, but I think Speedie will back it up. We had a team of winners, and that's what made it successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And Colin's nickname Quincy came from Quincy MD, the program on TV, because he was a better physio and doctor than the club doctor we had, because he knew every injury that anybody ever had. So his nickname was Quincy.
That's true.
Only you didn't go to the races. Jack Cluckman loved the day at the races.
Yeah.
No, not for me, Al.
So that 83-84 promotion team, I mean, just talk a bit about the impact those two had on the side, as you said, when you cross the white line. I mean, was it the winning mentality that was the biggest thing they brought to the team?
Definitely. They hated losing. We all hated losing, but they definitely hated losing. And Joey was so enthusiastic. Even in training, he was exactly the same. He trained and played the same, but didn't kick you like he would get stuck in more during the games, tackling wise. But his enthusiasm was amazing, and Mickey Thomas was the same. Two great players, played for the countries, so that's what you expect from people that have played at that higher level.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, they brought another dimension to the team. Let's put it that way, and it rubbed off on everyone. It wasn't a show for the crowd or anything. Let's be honest about it. If you look at Joey Jones's record, I mean, you don't win 2 European Cups and not be a good player. Yeah. And it amazes me. I've been reading some of the stuff on Facebook and various other sites, and people are saying, he wasn't the most gifted, he this and that and all and this, and I'm thinking this is rubbish. There's certain gifts that players have, and he had the most important gift in my opinion, and that was the will to win. That was like what I call an inner steel, and I think there was so many players in that team in 83, 84 that had the same ability, if you like, and a small. People think that's a small piece. That's the biggest piece. You've got to have that will to win. If you don't have that will to win, you ain't going to win. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. I think on top of that, as you're speaking, Carl, is people forget as well. There's an art to tackling as well.
Oh, he was the best.
And today it's gone. There's the tackling in the Premier League in Europe, who just watch the World Championships. Some of these teams, that's why they keep pulling shirts and everything else
and hair.
in the 60s, 70s, people they could tackle, mate, and they could hit you. Although they get the ball or go for the ball, they would hit you as well. You know, the Dave McKay as well. But Joey could tackle. You know, he was a good.
100%, Alan. 100%. Yeah, he was. He played the game. He played the game tough, but he marshaled the art of being able to tackle, but also at the same time. And this was another bit. He frightened people, you know, and people didn't like playing against him. And you know, it's something that's missing now. I mean, you know, you wouldn't be allowed to do what we got away with at that time. But people say to me, could he have played in this era? Of course you could, because you adjust. You know, people ask me whether, you know, some of these great players like, you know, your Keegans and your Douglashes and you know, all these players, could they play in the modern game? You know, could George Best play in the modern game? Al, do me a favor. You know?
Yeah,
He'd absolutely walk it. You know, he'd be, because they wouldn't be able to kick him. You know. So yeah, Joey had a fantastic ability to not just tackle, but also, believe it or not, he was good with both feet. You know, he wasn't a left-footed left back. You know, but he could use his left foot, but he was probably more right foot than left foot. You know, so yeah, he was a great player, but also a great leader and a great competitor. You know, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, his passion was unbelievable. Yeah, tackling, winning the ball, and then showing the fist to the supporters running down the left-hand side. It was amazing. He just.
Well, I mean, he did that. He did that at Liverpool. He did exactly the same thing at Liverpool. I mean, he's like his mate Mickey. I mean, Mickey loved it, just revered it. Every club he ever played for, he was top of the shop, you know. And Joey's exactly the same. You know, they're two peas in a pod in that way. That he was as loved at Liverpool as was he Chelsea.
Yeah.
You might have to toss a coin there. I don't know, but he worked at Liverpool. You know,
on the field they were the same. Off the field they were totally different.
Yeah. Thank God, couldn't have two Mickey Thomases running around, could you?
No. Bless him.
And it's ironic they ended up on the same side of the pitch as well, so the two of them would look after each other. You know, it was brilliant. Yeah, we
all looked after each other back then, Col.
Yeah, we did, mate. Yeah,
we had each other's backs all the way through. Every game we played, everybody had each other's back, which is what made it such a successful team.
What did you guys? I mean, what Joey did before the games in those days? You know, the old he was going up to the crowd and doing the fist pump. No one had ever seen that before. I mean, what did you guys make of the way he was getting the crowd up before the game actually started?
It was great. We encouraged it. We loved it. We started doing it, coming out, fist pumping, and come on, lads. So he started it, and we carried it on after he'd gone.
Yeah, I mean, in the changing room, Joey, he didn't really say a lot. You know, he didn't sort of, quiet. He didn't say a lot in the changing room, and we talked about it a few times already. But when he crossed that line, he became a different person, and I think that happens to everyone personally. You know, you know, I think, and then for him to get the crowd going, obviously at Stamford Bridge, I absolutely loved it. You know, and it was something new to them, but what did he? I think he got Player of the Year, didn't he? 82 was it? Yeah, 82, 83. He was Player of the Year. And you talk about Liverpool, and then he went on to Huddersfield, and I believe he got Player of the Year 85, 86 in Huddersfield. So he was loved by the crowd, loved by the supporters, because he engaged with them and had that. He showed his enthusiasm through doing what he did, and I think that's what they all loved it. That's why everyone loved him, you know, and the supporters just absolutely took him in, and but everywhere he went, he was loved. Everywhere he went, he was successful as well. You know, let's have a look at his career. His career is incredible. You know?
Everybody that knew him loved him on and off the field.
Yeah.
In social life as well. He was funny. Have a few beers with him and have a crack. He was just immense. Him and Mickey Thomas were like chalk and cheese, but on the field they were the same. Came out of the same pod.
Oh, well, I was telling someone yesterday that they asked me the question. I said, well, if you met him out in the week with me or whatever, and we were standing around having a chat, you'll come away say, if you didn't know him, you say, what does he do for a living? You know, say he's a footballer. I say it can't be a footballer because he's so laid back and everything else. And then I said, we go and watch him Saturday then. And he would come back and say, oh my God, that's not the same fella I met in the week. You know, it was one of those things. But I mean, sadly that Tony and I, we've doing these podcasts, we've had quite a few of these over the last couple of years when people have gone, and this is probably as sad as, you know, it can be, you know, because he was such a right good lad, you know. And
Too early.
Yeah, and it's and I think also the saddest thing, especially for fans, although there's not many Chelsea fans left in Chelsea now, they all live out away from home, is that he kind of went back to where he went back to and was never seen again. You know, he never really come back too much, did he? You know, where Mickey's a bit, but no, well, Mickey's a bit of a, you know, everywhere man, isn't he? You know.
Yeah, the thing is that I think Joey has been through went through a period with, well, his last years with dementia, and I kept in contact with Tommel. I spoke with Tommel the other day actually, and I thought he'd be, you know, really struggling, Tommel, to be honest, but he basically, because he spends a lot of time in Portugal at the moment, and he'd just been over to see Joey, landed, and then got the news, and immediately booked a flight back the following day. And I said to Tommel, well, how was Joe like? Because I've not heard from him for quite a while, and I knew he had. Tommel told me that he'd had dementia a few years ago when we met at Stamford Bridge for the reunion. And he said, Cole, to be quite honest with you, he said Joe was really, really struggling, you know, and it was heartbreaking to see him, you know, and I think it sort of in a way he was trying to say that, you know, it was better that he did leave us, if you like, because he was suffering. And I think, you know, I think we've all experienced that at some stage with people in our lives, you know, and I think Joey had reached that point. So sadly, that's what I was told. And Tommel's back in Wrexham now. Eddie Nedvesky, I believe, had visited him the day before, went back and has gone back again. And we're just waiting for the call really to see when everything is going to happen really up at Wrexham with regards to his funeral arrangements and everything. So yeah, it wasn't the way that anyone would want to go, you know, with that dementia. Is an absolute nightmare, isn't it? And but sadly Joey had that, and you know, he's resting in peace now, let's put it that way.
Yeah I wasn't even aware that dementia came into it, because it happened so suddenly, and there was nothing been said down here about it, but that makes it even sadder that
he suffered for quite a few years out, to be quite honest. And he used to send me messages, and Speedie, well, it was messages that didn't, it wasn't Joey, you know, it was things that he would never send, you know. And I used to just send back something, but I think he was just pressing the buttons, and it was just going to everyone who he knew, you know, on his site. And it was really, really sad. And I used to say to my wife, "Oh, Joe's been on again." Like I said, like the poor guy, you know, and yeah, he suffered with dementia for I'm not sure how many years, but it was quite a few years. Yeah, yeah.
I've told my daughter if I get that, I'm going to Switzerland for a little injection in my arm. I couldn't be doing with that. I've got it in writing.
Yeah.
If I get dementia where I don't know anybody or don't know what I'm doing.
I thought you were going to say throw yourself up one of those mountains, Dave.
No, I'm going skiing.
Yeah.
Get a bit of brain freeze. No, I
know what you're saying. Hey,
I watched my dad die with vascular dementia, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
So the quicker we get this injection law in our country where you can have the assisted dying, the better, because people don't deserve to suffer like that. You won't let your dog carry on if it got some sort of ailment. So why the human beings have to put up with it? If you're in a good state of mind and you can sign a piece of paper saying if I get into that sort of situation, I want assisted dying, I want to be put to sleep. Everybody should have the opportunity to do that.
good point, mate. You're right.
Very true.
You're right. There's nothing worse than watching a loved one suffer like that. That's terrible. Terrible. It's
Can I just ask on the social side of that team that you were such an integral part of, you guys, in the early 80s. I mean, bearing in mind the amount of commuting Joey and Mickey would have done backwards and forwards to Wrexham, I'm guessing you didn't really socialise that much with them, did you?
A few beers in the players' bar, and sometimes in the Stamford Bridge Arms, we'd have a get together. But no, they'd be off. They'd be gone. Sometimes they'd stay over if we were playing on a Sunday or whatever. And they'd then be back in for training. They'd stay in the physio's room on the treatment beds.
And then
was
after,
was Joey with Mickey the night when Mickey took all his mates over the front gates and had a game on the pitch in the dark from the Stamford Bridge Arms? They've been in the Stamford Bridge Arms all afternoon. He said, "You fancy a five-a-side on the pitch?" And they went, "You're joking." They all went over the top and took a ball with them. I didn't know whether Joey was with him because you wouldn't have liked him to kick you in the dark, you know.
No.
I
remember that happening, but I don't know whether Joey was involved in it. I can't remember.
Yeah, it did happen. Yeah, it was quite famous in the Stamford Bridge Arms. Yeah.
Are you familiar with that story, Colin?
No, I didn't know about that actually. I was in the dark about that one.
Something.
No, all I remember is that on a Friday we would do obviously our little bit of training, if you like, you know, and they'd be jumping in the car and heading back to Wrexham, and then they'd meet us wherever for the game the following day. Sometimes come to the hotel, sometimes just turn up at the game, you know.
Really?
And it was really unusual to start with, but we accepted it in the end. You know, it was just the way that they had the agreement to sign for Chelsea with that agreement between themselves and the manager, and I suppose it's easier to accept when you're successful. I have to say that, but no, it didn't affect their game at all, and that was just the unusual thing that they used to do, and I've never seen or heard of it before.
How many days a week would they have trained with you?
Well, they train every day, Dave, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they were going backwards and forwards. But on before a game, we'd stay in the hotel on a Friday, whether we were home or away, if I can remember rightly. There was a hotel just past the Fulham Broadway station, round the corner there somewhere. We stayed there on a Friday, but sometimes they'd stay probably twice a week they'd just stay in the treatment room and sleep on the physio benches.
And Colin would give them treatment.
Yeah.
He was better than the physio we had, Colin. I'm not joking either. He knew every injury. I don't know how, but he knew every injury. He knew how to treat it, how to dress it. He was honestly, he was better than our physio. And that's no disrespect to him either.
Where did
Well,
you get?
he'd be better than our club doctor in Stoke because we had a gynecologist. We really did. He was our club doctor.
Bloody hell.
Where did you get your medical expertise from, Colin?
I was always interested in injuries, and any spare time I had, or if I'd finished training, I used to sort of go into the treatment room and sometimes help with the physiotherapist, the physio. At one stage, I was taught the electron acupuncture. I did do ultrasounds.
You did everything.
Yeah, I could do anything really, because it was just knowing and getting to know how to do the work the machines, if you like, and the intensity and the I just enjoyed doing it, you know, and learning more about injuries, and even people now even ask me if they've got a problem. They ring me up, and I say, well, look, you need to do this, that, or whatever. And then after 2 days, do this and whatever. It's just something that I was really interested in, and was fortunate enough to be able to work with most of the physios at every club to be able to just expand my understanding of injuries. Really, it was as simple as that. Yeah.
How about surgery? Any good at surgery? Oh, because I've just had my knee done. I've got to come to you, mate.
It wasn't
Well,
that good.
I've taken a few people out in my time, that's for sure.
They definitely needed surgery.
They had a bit of surgery, didn't they, Speedo?
They did, mate. If you got hit by you or Joey, you knew about it.
Well, while we've both got you both on, Colin and Dave, we've got to talk a bit about your partnership up front. I mean, I know people talk a lot about Speedo's partnership with Kerry Dixon, which was obviously a great partnership.
Yeah.
But I mean, you two played together a lot up front. I mean, tell us a bit about what made that partnership good.
Me or Colin?
Either of you.
Passion and understanding what you were good at and what you weren't good at. He was great at holding the ball up, Colin. I was good in the air, flicking it on, chasing fullbacks down, left or right. He's saved his legs a bit like with Kerry Dixon. He didn't do a lot of running. Colin didn't do a lot of running, I would say, when we played together up front. But what a good target man he was. He never gave the ball away. When it was knocked into him, they couldn't get it off him.
Yeah, I think that we understood each other's game, you know, and we love playing up front together, Speedo and I, and we just by sheer, not say luck, but unfortunately for Kerry, he got injured before the Full Members Cup final. We played away on the Saturday and played away at Southampton on the Saturday, and had to play the final on the Sunday, and Kerry had a bit of a groin injury, which allowed me to play up front with Speedo. To be honest, I played with a slight injury in that game, but we just understood each other. You know, it was just, you know what it's like. You when you played in teams and everyone understands their jobs, and it's just like it just mixes together and it's fine. And I mean, I knew we would win that game because I knew that we were playing up front together, and I didn't particularly. I mean, Mick McCarthy that day, and I ain't the greatest lover of him anyway. But anyway, that's another story. So I relished playing against bigger guys, if you like, people that thought they were bigger than me, you know. And as Dave said, you know, my job was to receive and build play through, and Speedo would make runs in behind me on the layoffs, and then I'd get in the box, and if the cross came in, we were both good in the air. Let's be honest about it. There weren't many people we couldn't compete against in the air. So our game was getting on the end of crosses, you know, and the team was built around that. Kerry would very rarely come outside the width of the 18-yard box, but an unbelievable goal scorer, you know. It was, and then obviously I ended up playing right back, so I knew how to deliver the balls to Speedo, and I knew how to deliver the balls to Kerry because I played that position and I knew exactly how to do that.
Yeah.
So I had to perfect, probably playing it right back, had to perfect 3 or 4 passes max, you know. And that was that was as simple as that, you know. I had Pat Nevin in front of me on the right. Dave Speedie sometimes coming short to allow the space for Dixon, who was very, very quick, Curry. And then, there were different types of ball. I'd drive it into Speedo and I would bend it down the line for Curry or vice versa. You know, it was simple. But I think the secret of that team was that we had a complete understanding of each other, and we knew the strengths and the weaknesses of each other, and we played to the strengths. As simple as that.
Yep.
Simplicity.
Say again.
Simplicity.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Quite simple.
Yeah.
Don't complicate the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Leave that to Pat Nevin. He can complicate the game. I've seen him beat a defender 3 times and still not cross it. And we're all screaming, "Cross the bleeding ball!" He'd do well in the game today, like keeping the ball and passing it, and then keeping the ball and passing it back. The goalkeepers get more touches than any other player on the pitch these days because they're always passing it back. I'd go mad in this modern day game. It would drive me nuts. They get out wide and then it ends up back with the goalkeeper.
It sounds like you might have had a few ding dongs with Pat off the pitch about his propensity to hold on to the ball rather than knock it in the box.
No,
he didn't wait to come off the pitch.
That was all done there and then. What needed saying was said on the pitch and sometimes off the pitch, but Pat Nevin was an absolute star in his own right, but sometimes he held on to it for too long. That's his only fault. He was brilliant. His control, the way he just glided past defenders, and he laid a few goals on for Mr. Dixon and myself.
I mean,
and Colin.
Alan.
I mean, on the other side, I mentioned earlier on about when I went up to Stoke and Mickey came to Chelsea, and the last time I see Mickey was, I think it was on the treatment table at the bridge. As I was walking out, and I mean, he made a great impact on the other side of the field, didn't he? I mean, he was great for you, wasn't he?
Yeah, him and Joey down the left.
Yeah,
were unbelievable.
I think Tom's work rate was incredible. You know, he would control that left hand side, you know, in front of Joey, and the game then was played into out, wasn't it? The wingers played into out, and I think he was probably arguably one of the best I've seen doing that job, you know, and had immense energy. You know, I mean, people said to me, I don't know if it was true or not, that he had this extra large heart, which that's why he couldn't sort of stay still for much. You know, he was never slept that much either. You know, I was in a restaurant with him once in Aberystwyth when we were training. And he said, "Oh, come on, Cole, shall we go down and have a bite to eat?" Like, I said, "Yeah, all right." I went down there, went into this restaurant, sat down 5 minutes, ordered the food, come over, he put it around his plate. He said, "I'm off now." I went, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I can't sit here much longer. I'm going." Like, and he wouldn't sit anywhere. Tomo was like, he was just
on the go.
Oh yeah, I mean, I get on so well with him. I think you have to understand Tomo, don't you? You know, we've all met him and we all played with him. His heart's in the right place. That's what I'm saying. I understand. I get on really well with Tomo, and we always have a good laugh when we get together. But yeah, he was a great player, and underrated. Underrated is the wrong word, but he was a really, really good player. And as I said just now, arguably one of the best I've seen on that left-hand side.
Yeah. I think what comes out of this performance more than anything is something I always believed in since I was a kid, and my father taught me. It's taking pride in your performance. And it seems like when David speaks, you yourself, Colin, and I know Mickey, wherever he went, he was, you know, he's always trying to be the best player on the field or whatever. And that is the key to it all. You know, if you got no pride in your own performance, then you're no good.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I can remember either of those players having a bad game. I can't remember. Can you, Dave?
No,
I can't.
I can't remember anybody in that team. I mean, you go across the back line, including yourself, Colin Pates and Joe McLaughlin, centre halves, then Joey, and Johnny Bumstead, Nigel Spackman in the middle. Then you've got Mickey Thomas and Pat Nevin on the other side, and me and Kerry up front. And we were all working hard for each other. The only person that I would say didn't work hard defensively was Kerry, because he saved his energy for getting in behind the back four. But everybody else in the team worked the socks off. But Kerry did it.
I've no doubt that you did one or two. You did have off games, but the whole point of it is when your team's playing so well and you're so, you know, you're like, I see it when I first see all you boys come together. It was pre-season. They were all good. Nigel and Kerry coming in from Reading and all this, and I thought, this is a team he's putting together. I knew I had noticed, because John Neal didn't sign me. Ken Bates signed me for some other reason.
Yeah.
I think he just brought me into the club to show the fans that, you know, the old players are, you know, he's still experienced and this could give something that way. But John Neal didn't see it that way. But I see it all from the beginning, and it seemed like it ran like a machine. You know, you were like a machine. You were just I watched certain games, and you could tell what was going to happen before it happened. You know, the way Colin's saying it as well. At the back, he had 2 or 3 options, and that's the way the game should be played. You know, whereas today they're going nowhere, and there ain't no fault about it. You know, it's
I think one prime example for me is that the modern game, in my opinion, is at the moment has destroyed Jack Grealish. You know, because he no longer goes past anyone. He no longer does anything. All he does is thinks about keeping possession.
Well, absolutely, Carl. Yeah.
And to me, that's wrong. I mean, when I coached and managed, I think you've got to give a license to players who have got that ability to be prepared to give the ball away. You know, so if you take people on, you're not going to beat them all the time, but you know, give them that license. And I think the modern game is destroying some of the ability to go past people, because people are fearful that if they give it away, they'll get a bollocking. You know, and that ain't right. You know, it's just not right.
Well, it's funny you say that, because the greatest piece of advice that Jack Grealish ever got was when he was playing under Martin O'Neill.
Yeah.
And he said one day he played the first half or something, and he gave him a tug, and he said, "Look, you're getting fouled too much. You're going down too easily." And he went, "Well, they're fouling me." He said, "Well, make sure they're going to foul you nearer their goal than our goal."
Yeah.
So he would pick up the ball further upfield and go and do exactly the same thing he was doing deeper, which is putting you more in trouble than the opposition. And that was the key to his game. He started getting fouled around the edge of the boxes, and they were scoring, and had players that scored in set pieces. So that kind of thing that Martin O'Neill taught him was kind of knocked out of his game by Pep.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you can't knock Pep, but when I look at him now, he's a completely different player. You know, you think, well, he's not exciting anymore. You know, he's boring. You know, and I mean, I'm not being funny. Speedo mentioned it earlier that you can imagine Speedo up front with Grealish on the left-hand side. Jesus Christ, there'll be the half time would be really interesting, to say the least.
You're in the box for a reason. It's to receive the ball off your wingers. And all too often these days, the supply into the strikers they sometimes don't even bother to get in there because they know the ball's not going to be crossed in. See it all too often, whether it be Chelsea, Liverpool, or whoever.
Well, I think now, David, is that like that's been the problem with Chelsea for the last 3 or 4 years, and they brought this new fella in. Whether he's going to make it or not, Delap, he's a handful. I've said to a lot of people, he reminds me of when Chelsea brought Ian Hutchinson in from Southern League.
Yeah.
Now the wingers have got no excuse not to stick it in there.
That's right. He's get it in the box.
Yeah, before there was nobody in there.
No.
There was nobody with any was going to start hitting defenders as well as and this fella's going to do it.
We used to bust the gut to get into the 18-yard box. I mean, I played in midfield quite a few times in my career, and I was bombing from the halfway line, whoever was out wide, to try and get into the box to support the strikers. And sometimes I even scored from midfield. Well, I scored quite a lot from midfield.
I think what it is, the modern game allows teams to drop off and camp into the 18-yard box unless you're counter-attacking. The modern game is played in front all the time, which then it gradually gets there. But by the time it gets there, the back four or back five is camped in the 18-yard box anyway. Whereas when we played, it was a lot quicker and it was more direct. But as Dave's saying, the crosses had to come in. They had to come in because we had that strength. For some reason that has gone out of the game quite a bit. But I noticed the Chelsea games I've watched lately, they are playing forward a lot more because Delap is fairly good at holding it up, and he's holding it up, getting it wide, and getting back in again. And I think Chelsea's game has changed because they brought him in, and I noticed it the other evening when I watched. And as soon as he came on, there was a lot more forward passing, a lot more looking for him, if you like. Get it into him, and then we'll feed off of him, and away we go. Whereas before it was so boring. I went up to the bridge a few years ago, and I'm not being funny. At one stage, I felt as if I didn't want to go out at halftime and watch the second half. It was so boring. But
Absolutely.
I think there's been a switch that's turned on, if you like, and I'm pretty excited about next season. And on the back of what's happened over the last month or so, let's hope it's going to be a real successful season next year. Or this year, I should say, next season.
Well, all the signs are good. I mean, it couldn't get any better signs than the last game abroad. And I think I've said to a couple of people, he doesn't really realise what he's bought for the still at. He's not going to be. It's a little bit like Haaland in many ways. Haaland is probably one of the least best technical players you'll ever see. He's absolutely hopeless at certain parts of his game, but the part of his game which is obviously what the game's all about is sticking it in the net, and I think this fella will do it.
I hope so.
If he gets the service, there's no reason why he won't.
Well, he's got Neto, and Neto has no excuse to beat the fullback 3 times and 4 times now. Once he beats him, he knows he's got to get it in, and unless a manager drums that into him, then he's not doing his job. But I think he's got. When he played in the States the last few games, I think he was getting there and he was getting his head up and looking in, and that's all it takes.
Yeah.
I was gonna mention.
It encourages people to get into the box. If the supply's coming in, then people are going to make runs from midfield, strikers, whether they're playing 1 or 2 up front. If you're getting fed with crosses, you're going to make the runs.
Yeah.
If you're not, you're going to your shoulders are going to shrug, and you're going to get your head down, and it's so frustrating when you're making runs and the ball's not coming into you.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be a good season for Chelsea. I've got us down for winning the league.
There you go.
I do. I think this squad's capable of winning the Premier League.
Would Alan, Colin, what do you think of that?
No, I think it's got great potential. You know, it's a young squad as well. So, you know, if you were to win it, if they were to win it next season, you can see them going on and on and on because, you know, the confidence that will be built if you win something like they've just won the World Cup thing is you know, that's immense, you know, because you know, it takes the confidence level to a different dimension. You know, if they hadn't have won that, then you're then doubting it again, you know, and they're doubting each other. But they're a young squad. That's the point I'm making. And a young squad can develop into a very, very exciting squad, especially if they win things as they go along. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to next season.
Were any of you surprised quite how dominant Chelsea were in the game against Paris Saint-Germain?
I was quite surprised, to be quite honest. But they played with passion, and that's what you need. And get forward and score goals.
But they did the most important thing they did was they see the strength of the Paris team as that was their midfield is their strength, and they make the old game tick, and they make things happen all the time, and that's what Chelsea did. The two players in midfield, well, they have three in the end, and then they just made sure that didn't happen, and then they got it to the players, their own players that could do it, and I think that will give you an idea of.
They didn't just win the game; they outplayed them.
Oh, they smashed them! They smashed them.
That's the positive thing about.
Yeah.
It's not the winning the game and the Club World Cup. It's the performance. And I thought Paris Saint-Germain were the best team on the planet until Chelsea beat them.
Well, they are. They still are. But Chelsea now got, like anything else we've been talking about, you know, it's like we've been talking about your team, that you've got to get at consistency. You've got to be a week in, week out thing if you're going to win the league. Last year, I think if not first, can be fourth in the league all throughout the season, and third and fourth throughout the season. And looking at this Chelsea team, I like the way they've improved their back four. I think the fella from Brighton in midfield have cost all the money. At last, he's looking like he's, you know, without being
Cucurella.
too inventive. Yeah.
Caicedo.
I think, yeah, Caicedo. I love Cucurella since the day he came. I loved him since when they were burning him down there. And I said, this fella's a great player.
Oh, he wants to get his hair cut though.
Absolutely, Dave. I couldn't agree more.
It'd be a lot quicker. And
well, it ain't that. It's because he's asking for people to put it in that game. Someone pulled his hair. Then they pulled it right back off him, and I mean, he really is asking for trouble. I don't know. It's a strange old thing. It's like saying, well, George Best should have got his hair cut, you know, but that's a little bit different. He's not quite as good looking as George Best, but no, I think all the signs are there for it to be a very, very positive season. I can't see any negatives from what happened abroad. I think that was a great pre-season for them. Unbelievable.
Yeah, they've done brilliant.
Yeah.
As former centre forwards as well, one person you haven't mentioned is the new signing, João Pedro. What's your view of him, Colin?
Well, he played very well, didn't he, in the final? Let's be honest about it. You know, I don't know a lot about him, to be quite honest, but what I saw was encouraging, you know, to say the least. And I you know, to score the type of goal he scored, you know, that takes a lot of ability, you know. But I think what Chelsea did is they caught them out, didn't they, Paris Saint-Germain, because they thought they were going to just drop off them, play what we talked about just now, the modern game of sitting in your own half and doing this and doing that. But they didn't, you know, they went right at them from the start, and I think it caught them out. I don't think they were expecting that. So I think the game plan really worked for Chelsea that particular day. It might, they'll come up against this Chelsea next season, that people will recognise, as all teams, you know, you follow teams, you get all the reports, you watch them play, and then you set your team out accordingly. But I think a lot of teams will sit deep against Chelsea next season, and that'll be the test of ability to see how you can break those teams down. And I think the secret the other evening in the final was that caught Paris Saint-Germain out by surprise, and they couldn't recover from it. It was just immense. You know, the team plan worked, you know, and it worked to the highest level. So that was brilliant. So I think Chelsea, obviously the guy will know this, you know, in training, they'll have to unlock doors. They'll have to unlock doors on every Saturday they play in, or every game they play in, because teams, I believe, will drop deeper. And I think that's the key. That's going to be the question mark. And maybe that's why Delap's in there, because, you know, he's not bad in the air either. So, yeah. And I think they'll put crosses in. I think they'll, you know, with the ability the players have got, they have the ability to, you know, if you pull off your centre half, they got the ability to find that little ball in behind, like the captain did in one of the games. I can't remember what game it was, but it was a brilliant ball, you know. And a lot of people don't see them balls, but they've got players.
I think it's all about the one when Palmer found him. He scored.
Palmer, yeah. I mean, I couldn't understand what they did. You know, if you look at it the other way around, who would defend against Palmer and allow him to go inside? You know, I couldn't believe that. You know, the first thing you do is you shut off his left foot, and I think tactically that was a good switch by Chelsea, because playing Palmer more on the right hand side than the left, was a great switch. You know, I mean, let's be honest, their left back's like a flying machine, isn't he? You know, so. But Palmer stopped that, but he also, when he got the ball, he went inside. And to me, that was the key to opening up their defence and eventually him scoring goals, you know. So, but I couldn't understand what they were thinking of, you know, because if I was playing left back against Palmer, there's no way that he would come inside me. I would make him go down the outside as much as I could, because that's his strength, the left foot, isn't it? You know, and
I think if Palmer was playing against you, he wouldn't go near you. He'd go over the other side, Cole.
Definitely.
I shouted Joey.
Joey,
he's on his way.
Yeah. But then he might drift a little bit deeper then, I think.
Yeah, he's a great player.
He'd know all about it if he went right or left.
No, he's a great player, but it's when you analyse the games and analyse what Chelsea did in that, there was some really, really important game plan put together in both the semi-final and the final, and believe me, and I'm sure you'll agree, the semi-final Chelsea played a different game than they did in the final, you know, and it was interesting for me to watch it and see the game plan. It was brilliant.
Yeah
It's nice to see them winning stuff again.
Well,
yes,
you've got to start somewhere.
They've got a tough task on this season with the Premier League, but I think after looking at that performance, they've got it in them. If they can keep that sort of pace of the game, changing the pace of the game is important as well. Slowing it down sometimes and then quickening it up, it takes opposition by surprise. And Cole Palmer's going to be a massive plus in that team this season yet again. I saw him getting fed up last season in a couple of games. He was so disillusioned. His head was going down. He wasn't getting the ball. He was making runs, not receiving the ball. But now, give it to him.
Well, he's going to be the key.
Yeah, I think so.
If he plays like that for the whole season, then exactly what you said could happen. I think Chelsea could win the league, because they were going, when they had that run before the season ended, when he first came in the side, he was just unplayable, really. And that's the Cole Palmer you want this year. Anyway, we're nearly the end. Before we go back on to Joey, what's happening with the book?
It's out on the 1st of September. So you can buy it on Amazon. I'm doing a book signing at Darlington, my first, where my career started, that kicked my career off at Darlington. I'm doing a book signing at Darlington's first home game. And then later on in the month, I'm doing Coventry City TV and a book signing at one of the supporters clubs and at the ground the following day. I've not had any been able to have any contact with Chelsea about my book, but it's on Amazon.
I'm your contact.
You're okay. I'll speak to you later then.
I'm your contact. You know how well I get on with Chelsea, don't you? No,
Yeah.
I know a certain gentleman who will help you. That's no problem.
All
I've
right.
already spoken to him about it, so it's just a matter of it. That's already done. That's
All right.
and if you wouldn't have a problem getting anything done there.
Okay, well, listen. It's been great having you guys on. It's a sad event that's brought us together, but we really appreciate you coming on, Speedo and Colin.
No worries.
Just to wrap up, a final word on the late great Joey Jones, please.
Colin?
Difficult, because he's going to be a massive loss to a lot of people. Obviously his family, very, very close to his family, as Dave said earlier, a family man. You know, I feel for them in this difficult period. I'll never forget Joey. You know, Joey is and still is a really good friend of mine. He was just, I don't know, it's very, very difficult to put into words, but he was just a one-off person, not just a great footballer, a great competitor, but a great person. And I think that's really important. So yeah, as we found out today, and which I shared with you, you know, his period of dementia, at least he's in peace now, and rest in peace, mate, because you're a top man. Rest in peace, Joey.
Yeah. A great man on and off the field. A great husband and father. And a great friend, and always in my heart. That's enough said.
Yeah.
It's a lovely, lovely tribute, guys.
It's just amazing. I've been staring at his photo all through, and it's just hard to believe. It's but the thing what Colin said about the dementia thing, which has kind of made it even worse to handle, you know, because I didn't know him as well as you two. I never played with him. You get to know people a lot more, don't you, when you play with them, and you're in dressing rooms with them and that. But the little I knew of Joey, and I did know him a little bit through his sidekick, but he was just a lovely bloke, and it's such sad, tragic news. And let's hope the next podcast is going to be about something a bit brighter, you know. But all our love goes to his family and friends and everything else. What can you say? You know, it's
absolutely, yeah.
And you going to the funeral, you boys?
Yeah, I will be.
Let me know the arrangements, Colin, because I'll be going.
Yeah, I will, Speedo. Yeah, I'm waiting for Tomo. He's, like I say, he's back in Wrexham now, and he told me he would keep me updated with everything. So just waiting for that call, really, and then I'll let you know, and then I'll make the arrangements and go up. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I might see you chaps there.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on, boys.